Hey. What's up, folks? I'm back. Did you miss me? Today. Kind of a darker video today. Today's video is regarding if you all were living under a rock, if you were new to the channel, about 1 to 2 years ago, in the boom of the economy and the peak in 2021 and 2020, at the end of 2020 and beginning of 2021, there was like a 6 to 9 month window where I was reporting on this channel as like news headlines about specifically cards from Revised, The Dark, Fallen Empires, and Ice Age reserve list buyouts on low tier, cheaper cards. I don't know if you all remember this or not. I know if you're new to the channel and you weren't around a year, 1 to 2 years ago, you're not going to remember this. But about a year and a half, about 18 to 20 months ago, a really hot thing was going on. And that was everybody was targeting and buying out very cheap cards. A lot of new people were entering the market. A lot of people who didn't know what they were doing started buying out old reserve list cards. People were literally going online looking for any reserve list card under $10, and they were spending thousands on it, maxing out a credit card, buying them all out on TCG Player. And, I don't want to give specifics. I'm going to give a couple card names, but I don't want to give specifics because the individual didn't really want for me to share, because he was just, some people on the internet, social media would know who he is, because this individual was posting pictures about their buyouts from Ice Age cards and weird Fallen Empire and Homeland and some of these reserve list cards that this individual was spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and he put them on a credit card, and he was trying to pay them off and make payments and the same old thing. And well, this individual essentially lost his credits. I think he said, I don't know if he's in collections or what's going on. This individual had contacted me, asked me if I was interested in his 1 to 200 copies, and I even think one card had 300-400 copies of these very low tier, I call them tier 3, very cheap reserve list, garbage cards. Unfortunately, I declined because, simply put, we couldn't agree on price. Because, it's not hard, you all. If you go to Fallen Empires and look at the reserve list cards in Fallen Empires, there's only a couple of them, and it wasn't Rainbow Veil. And unfortunately, this individual bought like 200 of these Fallen Empire reserve list creature cards. And, he was paying like $5, $8, $10, $12 for these Fallen Empire reserve list creature cards, green card. And no, it's not, Hymn to Torak or High Tide. Those are spells, and those are not reserve list. And, and right now, the buy list on some of these cards are down from, like, his cost basis was like $8, $10, $12 a card, and buy list is like $1 to $2. And on top of that, the buy list will usually only take 4 copies or 8 copies, maybe 1 play set, 2 play sets. Maybe they take 12 copies or 20. But when you have 200, 300, 400 copies of something, after the first 12 to 20 copies, instead of giving you $2 a card, they end up giving you $1 a card. And the next 20 cards, they'll only give you 50 cents a card. After that, it goes to pretty much nothing. So the individual just said, hey, honestly, Rudy, what would you do if you're in my situation? What do you recommend? I'm in financial problems. I lost job, income, this and that, lost everything in crypto. I had a lot of tech startup companies and SPAC stocks in 2021. I'm down 90% on those. I'm leveraged. My income dropped, blah, blah, blah. Just annihilated across the board. And he said, at least I still own the Magic cards. I said, yeah, but do you want to keep them? He said, not really. I don't care about Magic. I just got into it because everything was going up. And this is a good textbook story last year, or I guess it was 2 years ago now, end of 2020, 2021. I guess it's almost 23 now. Jeez. This is a good example of people just weren't thinking. They were euphoric. Everybody wanted to 10x their money. Everything was to the moon. Everybody was leveraging. And most of these individuals weren't in the market for a long period of time. They didn't go through an 2008 downturn. They didn't go through other bear markets in different economies and different asset classes. And these individuals were leveraged. And now in 2022, interest rates go straight up. Cash is no longer trash. Cash is expensive with these high interest rates and CD rates, and cash is quite valuable. And a lot of these items people bought are down, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 90%, 95%. So unfortunately, I told the individual, essentially you're either going to take a massive 80-90% loss and you can sell them all, which, hey, if you're willing to sell, I'll pay the buy list price. If you want to sell the Fallen Empire reserve list cards, hey, I'll match the price. I'll give you $1 a piece. I'll pay you your shipping label. It is what it is. Past that, I don't see any opportunity here. You bought cards that people truly don't want. They're not just because it's reserve list. The print run of Fallen Empires and Homelands and Ice Age is so high, they are not truly rare. So there's no scarcity. People aren't really collecting sets of Fallen Empires. You just did it because you thought that was the trend. You had no fundamentals. You didn't have the capital. And you weren't willing to wait 5+ years. So you didn't cross off anything the way you were supposed to do it. So I guess the reason I'm telling you all this is because I remember doing videos on even Ice Age. People were targeting Ice Age cards for buyouts. Ice Cauldron. Some other weird chaos cards. And it was like a big thing. And I remember telling you all in reporting on these price spikes, even alliances. And I remember talking to you all about it. I remember telling you all, hey, you may be able to make money in the short term. But I remember telling everyone, use extreme caution. Because the whales, the stores, the buy lists, the vendors at GPs, and simply put, a lot of the big players in this game are not on board with what you're doing. And therefore, they are not raising the buy list. When you bought out $5,000 of a $2 card and you're trying to sell for $20, the buy list is still $1. And they're not willing to raise it because they don't think the price is real and they don't think it's sustainable. So here we are. And my point of the story in this video is to tell you all, this is happening a lot. And when I mean a lot, I would be willing to bet there are hundreds of people out there that have these huge buyouts of random cards on low-tier reserve list cards and even non-reserve list cards that they're in deep. And eventually, I think they're going to be forced to liquidate or sell to me, and I'll make a video and share it. Or they're going to be stuck with them and they're going to have to pay interest on their credit cards and try to crawl their way out. Either way, it's a lose-lose for these individuals, and honestly, it's probably a lose-lose for the market because eventually those cards are going to find their way back to the market, and it's going to put ice water on those cards for many, many years to prevent any possible growth in the next 3 to 5 years. So this is a problem. This was something we had talked about, and this was a big thing when the revised edition, not dual lands, not fork, not Wheel of Fortune, we're talking revised. Common uncommons, revised rares. I remember some people telling me they want to do a buyout on revised, Vesuvian Doppelganger, or they want to do a buyout on the revised Rockacur Ridges or Rock Hydra because they like the art, which I agree. I love the art. Or they want to do a buyout on, revised edition uncommon Sarah Angels, the old artwork, this and that. And I just said, look, I think it's a cool card. I love owning it. But I don't consider that an investable, long-term, major collectible item. I think you are not understanding the market and how much is out there. So now that we reflect back a year or two, unfortunately, the story did end poorly. And I don't think the story is over now. I think there's going to be a lot more of these lower tier, I don't want to say wannabe investors or mini Rudies or anything. And I know some of these people watch my channel and they wanted to build positions and enjoy the ride, and I get that, but you have to be ready for it. You have to, when you do this kind of stuff on a bigger scale, you got to have, I don't want to say like balls of steel or anything, cliche, but you got to have a strong stomach to handle, and you have to go into this stuff prepared for the potential for the worst case scenario. And you have to go into it saying that no matter what your time horizon is, how are you going to feel if you have to hold it for 2-3 times that time horizon? You need to go into this stuff assuming the worst and hoping for the best, because the market can always stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent, and the market can destroy you. And leverage remains the weapon of mass destruction. Leverage can turn billionaires into millionaires, and it can turn successful business owners into Wendy's drive-through people, and of course working with me at Wendy's or Taco Bell on Wednesdays. And that is just how the world works. Leverage can pull you up when you're broke because you can take high risk things, but leverage can ruin your life. And no matter how confident you are on something, you have to always factor in the chance that you are wrong, or I am wrong, or the individual making the choice is wrong. And that's something that people don't want to accept, don't want to consider, because you may feel so confident about something. There's no way it can go tits up. That's what they say on Wall Street bets. But the reality is, anything can go sour on you at any time. And if you're leveraged, or you have a high cost of capital, or you're borrowed and that credit card bill is due in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you have to make payment in full as you start getting milked for interest, you can be in serious trouble really, really quick. So this is a follow-up video to a couple years ago to let you know that many of the people who were involved in these lower tier reserve list buyouts on third tier Fallen Empires, Ice Age, even Chronicles. Some people did some buyouts on Chronicles, and it wasn't even reserve list. And even then, even some lower tier Mirage cards. I had an individual about a week ago, end of November around Black Friday, sent me an email saying, Rudy, I've got 800 Mirage reserve list cards. I was like, whoa, really? But he said, all of them are under $10, and you won't really know what any of them are. I said, oh, okay, like anything like Lion's Eye Diamonds and Dreadnoughts, or, some Gem Hall or Hall of Gemstones? Or I was like, anyways, I said, anything? He said, no. We're talking cards I paid, $7 a piece, and I tried to push the price to like $50 a card, and now they don't really sell for $7 or $8, and the buy list is $2. And I was like, well, I'll give you $2. Well, then I'd lose most of my money, and I can't pay my credit card. This is going to continue to unravel. And that's the problem with many things, is the deleveraging and the decompressing a lot of this stuff can outlast a lot of our thought processes. In other words, the prices can continue to go down and be negative far longer than we can stomach. And you have to approach all this very carefully. Okay? We could be in this flat garbage time for 3 more months, 6 more months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. How are you going to feel watching my channel, buying and selling sealed product and doing box openings and talking to you all? You will notice a change on this YouTube channel. Over the next 6 to 12 months, no one's going to remember this at the end of the video, so I'll say it anyways. If the market remains flat or negative over the next 12 to 18 months, you will see an increased amount of hatred towards me, the comment section, the views will drop, and the attitude of everybody, no matter what I talk about, could be Magic, could be Pokemon, could be Weiss, Flesh and Blood, MetaZoo, could be anything you want. No matter what I talk about, the people's attitude and anger will grow the longer the market remains weak, flat, or negative. And no matter who you are, if you talk about the market, they will be angry at you. So as I can tell you all, if we continue through this bumpy time, the public will be more angry at people like me, your LGS, employees, anyone who works in the collectible market will start to notice more problems, more returns, more chargebacks, more angry customers, canceled pre-orders, relisting. You will see an attitude and behavior change, which we've already seen many times in the last 7 years. You'll see a whole new type of behavior emerge from the internet and the customer base and people who play in this market. Because again, they're going to be trying to mentally figure out how to handle it. And it will be interesting to watch. This is very similar to when I talked to everybody when Flesh and Blood launched in 2019. I warned everybody by mid-2020, 2020, at the end of 2020, mid-2020, when Crucible of War started to spike, the game started to grow like wildfire and things were expanding really fast. I warned everybody that there's going to be a point in the coming 1 to 3 years that the market will turn and sour and things will change. And the probability of the owner of Flesh and Blood, the company or the people involved or influencers or YouTubers or LGSs, and the probability that everyone can navigate perfectly is going to be next to zero. and you will see people turn on the community and turn. You'll see the excitement shift from a lot of attacks towards each other. You'll see everything move and evolve into new perspectives and negativity. And that is exactly what happened. Obviously, a lot harsher and a lot worse than we expected, with the increase of print runs that went too high and the crash of many of the Flesh and Blood sets from the Monarch Tales Everfest block when the product was overprinted and the market came crashing down really hard as everybody ran for the exits. So in that situation, as that happened, I received, and not as much anymore, it's leveled off, but I received tremendous amounts of hate and threats over that 6 to 12 month window, probably at the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. And, you know, a lot of similar things when people attacking on MetaZoo and same things. And even I've had some of it on Weiss recently. And I even had back in 2018 on the XY era with Pokemon, I had a lot of the Pokemon people attack me because they said, Rudy, you know, you're overcharging or this and that, or, you know, it's a scam, you know, whatever the attitude or flavor of the month is, you know, it is what it is, you know, and I can't sell every product at a loss. And yes, you are correct. Rudy does not have the cheapest prices on every item. If you're a patron of mine, I cannot provide you the cheapest price on every product. When you have an irrational bear market, I cannot compete with stores that are willing to take profit or take product and then sell it at deep losses immediately. I can't, there's no rational market fundamentals in a bear, really bad crash style market. So I cannot compete with stores that are just taking big haircuts. So moving forward, I just want people to understand what we have coming. And now that I'm seeing a lot of these investors really fold and a lot of LGSs, I'm still working with 3 LGSs to take all their inventory. And I mean, we're talking, one of this LGS has like 700 booster boxes. Another LGS has like 300 or 400 between different collectors draft set. I mean, there's a lot happening. And again, I can feel the difference. I can feel the throwing in the towel. I can feel the walking away. I can feel the complete and utter disgrace of the collectible market. I can feel the disappointment from everybody. And I hope people remember this for when the day that things do change, even if that day is years from now. I hope people remember this. And that's one of the reasons I make these videos, is because this will act as a time capsule of a date and time of how everybody feels. I think that's important. The only other thing that's important is here's a picture of my penis.